welcome in to another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Max Chadwick alongside Dalton Wasserman with our final preseason video for the 2025 college football season. It will be our official college football playoff predictions for this year, Dalton. We've got a brand new playoff system, still 12 teams, but instead of the four highest ranked conference champions getting automatic bye, it's actually just the four highest ranked teams overall right now, which could change some things up in our playoff race. But I can't wait to do it today, and not to brag or anything like that, but I'm trying to go 3 for 3 in my career at PFF of getting the preseason national title pick right. I got 2 years ago, my first ever pick. I got Michigan right. Last year, I got Ohio State right. And we'll see what I can do this year.
Certainly a handful of good candidates, and I think especially last year with Ohio State that you had, and I had them as the runner-up. I had Georgia winning it all preseason last year, but it feels like this year it's a little bit more open, right? There's a lot of question marks about certain teams, especially I think a lot of teams near the top of these rankings, even in the preseason polls, that have unproven quarterback situations. They got very young football teams. So I think when you talk about trying to predict this playoff field, and for me especially, I think the last 2 or 3 teams to decide to put in here, this was tough because I think we've got probably 10 or 12 teams that are of equal caliber that all have a shot if they pull maybe one upset or one big road win. So I think the margin for error in this field this year is going to be very, very slim.
So actually, let's go back to last year's playoff predictions that you and I did on this channel and see how we did. So last year, your 12 teams in your playoff were Georgia. You got that right. Ohio State got it right. We both had Arizona. That did not work out well for us at all as Big 12 champion. Yep. You had Clemson. You had Oregon. Miami did not make it. Notre Dame did make it. Bama did not make it. Ole Miss did not make it. Penn State did make it. And then you had Missouri and Memphis. So you had 6 out of the 12 in your playoff. I believe I had 6 out of 12 too. I
thought you had 7. Didn't you have 7?
I think we had the same amount, but you had Clemson. I did not have Clemson. Okay. I had Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas. You didn't have Texas. Notre Dame and Penn State. So I had 6.
Oh, okay. So I thought for some reason I thought you might have had Boise last year.
No, we both had 6, but I had the national champion right. So yeah, we'll see if we can do a little bit better. We both got half the playoff right last year, so we hopefully get a little.
That sounds about right to be honest. When you're predicting an entire season out ahead of time, half probably sounds about right.
I'm happy with half.
And we had some real. Nobody was taking Indiana.
No.
Nobody was taking Arizona State. But I think that's the fun part about expanding it to 12 last year, and because you're going to get it. Same thing this year, 1 or 2 teams that everybody forgot about or nobody picked or that come out of nowhere, right? And everyone's trying to predict it based on the schedules, based on the team's talent. But, even last year, you and I with Indiana, we were optimistic on them, 7-8 win optimistic.
Yes.
Not playoffs, not 11-1, right?
No,
so you never know what's coming.
We were really high in Indiana, but even we were like, hey, they could win 7 or 8 games. They're going to win more than 5 games like people projected them to win, and they made the playoff last year. So, I'm excited to see who comes out of nowhere this year and makes the playoff, but it should be very, very fun. I want to remind you guys, PFF Plus is available to you guys right now at pff.com. Get access to all the betting and best fantasy tools on the planet too. And, of course, all the grades and insights that all 32 NFL teams use and all 136 FBS teams use too. All right, Dalton, let's dive headfirst into our 12-team college football playoff prediction. You want to go over the 12 teams that made your playoff first, and then we'll get into the first round after that?
Absolutely. Let's do it. So, number 1, I have the Clemson Tigers. I'm actually going to call the shot and say they are going to go through their schedule and through the ACC title game 13-0. Okay. I think and if they do that, I think they're going to be the number 1 team in the country going into the playoff. I've got Clemson 1. Number 2, I've got my SEC champion, the Alabama Crimson Tide, right? It was a tough decision whether it was going to be them or Texas as the SEC champion, as we talked about in our conference previews. Going number 2, Alabama. Number 3, Penn State, Big Ten champion. Now it's where it gets different from last year when it comes to just a straight top 4 seeding in the buys instead of last year where we had the conference, the 4 highest ranked conference champions. I've got Texas, number 4, losing to Alabama in the SEC title game. Big believer in Texas, big believer in Arch Manning. Number 5, Ohio State. I still think this schedule, they could lose to Texas. They could still very easily make the playoff. But I think for Ohio State to miss the playoff, they would have to go 9-3. I still really like their chances. I know they haven't done it in 5 years. I like their chances of beating Michigan. I still like their chances of beating Penn State potentially at home. We could see a rematch in the Big Ten title game. We've both projected Penn State over Ohio State in the Big Ten title game, but I've got Ohio State 5, Notre Dame 6. I question it if they get to 10-2 if they'll make it or not with their schedule, but I'm going to take Notre Dame Dame to go 11-1. They're my 6th seed. 7, my Big 12 champion, Utah.
Okay.
I think they're going to go from 5-7. Kyle Whittingham to the Big 12 title. Kyle Whittingham's my pick for National Coach of the Year. Big believer in Devin Dampier in Utah. Number 8, I have the Georgia Bulldogs, and I have questions about this one with their offense, quarterback situation, offensive line, things like that, but I think their schedule still shakes out where they can win 10 or 11 games. Georgia, number 9, I'm going to go, here's my 4th and final SEC team, and I had a hard time. I wanted a 4th SEC team, came down to a couple. I'm going with Texas A&M.
Wow, okay.
I'm going to take Marcel Reed, Mike Elko, this Texas A&M team that really loaded up offensively in the portal. I'm going to take Texas A&M 9. Number 10, the Oregon Ducks. I think they have a very clear road to 10-2 or even 11-1 in the Big Ten. Number 11, this was the hardest one because I had probably a half dozen teams I thought about, and eventually I just had to settle on something. I'm actually going to take a repeat of getting to the playoffs from Kenny Dillingham and the Arizona State Sun Devils.
2 Big 12 teams.
I'm going. Last year was 2 ACC teams, the first 2 teams, or the 2 teams in the title game. This year I'm going to go the Big 12 route. Give me Sam Leavitt, Kenny Dillingham, and the Sun Devils as number 11, and my Group of 5 team at number 12 is Boise State.
Okay. Love it. All right, my playoff teams in 2025. Number 1, like you, is Clemson. I think Clemson could go 13-0, win the ACC this year. I think they probably will do that this year. Number 2, I have the Big Ten champion, Penn State. I have them right there. I think they'll have a really good year this year. They're clearly a top 3 team in college football, along with Texas. My projected SEC champion is my number 3 team in my playoff right there. And at number 4, like you said, it is different, where it's not the 4 highest ranked conference champions, which means Notre Dame is eligible for a bye. They were not eligible for a bye last year, even if Notre Dame went 12-0 last year, which they didn't do. But even if they were 12-0 and ranked number 1 in the country, they could not get one of the top 4 seeds because they could not be a conference champion. That rule is different this year, so Notre Dame is eligible for a bye in this new playoff system. They're my number 4 team right there, the last team getting a bye. At number 5 is Alabama, my runner-up in the SEC. Number 6, I have Oregon. There are question marks, like you said, with Oregon, but that schedule was very favorable to the Ducks this year. Number 7, my Big Ten runner-up, Ohio State. They could have maybe 2, maybe 3 losses if they lose a Big Ten title game too, but I still think they'll get in with a 10-3 record or something like that. Number 8, like you, I also had Georgia making the playoff. I think there are a lot of offensive questions, but they still have a great defense. And listen, Kirby Smart always has his program winning 10 games or more pretty much. I'm going to trust they're going to win 9 or 10 games next year and get into the playoff. Number 9, I have Miami. I think the ACC once again have 2 teams in the playoff this year. I think Carson Beck is a top 5 quarterback in the country. He won't be as good as Cam Ward, but he should still be a great quarterback for that Miami offense, and they have a great offensive line and defensive line to rely on. At number 10, my Big 12 champion, Texas Tech. Is a wide open conference this year. I think they might beat up on each other a little bit this year, which is why my Big 12 champ is all the way down at number 10. The Big 12 champion might have 2 or 3 losses at the end of the season. So that's why they're down there at number 10. Number 11 is a tough one. You know, the Big 10 had 5 teams last year. I'm going to say the SEC gets 5 teams this year. I'm going to go with LSU.
Big 10, I thought the Big 10 had 4.
Well, he did have 4.
4 last year.
I think
Nobody's
SEC,
had 5. We got the Big 10 with 4 and the SEC
right.
with
I
3.
miscounted. Yeah, it was 4 for Big 10 last year. I think SEC will get 5 this year. I think LSU will get in. They do have a hard schedule, obviously, with Clemson in week 1. But Garrett Nussmeier is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I think they improved the defense a little bit, and this is a put up or shut up year now for Brian Kelly. I think almost LSU has to make the playoff, or else could have a lot of questions there in Baton Rouge. And like you, I'm also agreeing on the Group of 5. I have Boise State. When we were going through all of our Group of 5 picks in our Monday episode, I just okay, I know Boise. I know what they've got. They made the playoff last year. I know they lost Aston Ginty, but they still have a lot of great players. Every other Group of 5 team is like, okay, I'm hoping this team can do maybe Memphis can pull it off, but they have a lot of question marks. So many new transfers coming to that program. I feel best about Boise State right now.
I'm with you on that last point. When I looked at my other 4 Group of 5 champions, Ohio was out based on their out-of-conference schedule. They play Rutgers and West Virginia and Ohio State. If Ohio were to go 11-1 with a loss to Ohio State, probably would be them, but I don't know if they're beating either Rutgers or West Virginia. James Madison, the Sun Belt, they're good. I think they're the best team, but it's a competitive conference. Liberty would have to go 12-0 to even have a shot, and that's a very soft schedule. Then to me, it came down basically to Boise State and Navy. Now, the interesting thing about those 2 teams, they're both playing Notre Dame at some point in the year. We're projecting a loss there. And then it's basically, to me, which of those 2 teams between Boise and Navy do I think is more likely to run the table? Otherwise, I went with Boise State. I do think they are they're returning the most talent of any team in the group of 5. The loss of Ashton Ginty obviously is a big question mark, and I need to see what their pass rush looks like, but I think they're the safest bet right now in a conference that we're not expecting to be that deep as well.
By the way, I misspoke. I have 4 SEC teams in my playoff, not 5.
Okay.
It's, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, and LSU. What I meant to say is last year Big Ten had 4, SEC had 3. This year, SEC will have 4, in my opinion. Big Ten will have 3. So I think it'll flip between those 2 conferences this year. All right, let's get into our first round matchup. So tell me who you think is winning in the first round of the playoff.
All right, I can go first. So based on what we have here, my 5-12 is Boise State going to Ohio State. I think Ohio State wins. I just think that's too tall a task for Boise State. Number 6 Notre Dame over number 11 Arizona State. I think that could be a fun football game, but I do trust Notre Dame, their style of play, and I think they're better in the trenches. I think the run game would give Arizona State a lot of problems there. So I've got Notre Dame advancing. I've got Utah and Oregon, an old Pac-12 matchup going in Utah. And look, that stadium, that home field advantage Utah has, I think that's a real problem. I think that would be a great football game. And I think Utah at home, if they got a home playoff game, dangerous football team in that stadium.
That'd be an awesome playoff game.
Then I have one upset. I took Texas A&M to go into Georgia and win. And the fun part about that is those 2 teams do not play in the regular season. Georgia does not play A&M in the regular season. I'm going to take A&M to go in there and win a playoff game at Georgia in advance.
Okay, love it. All right, my first round of my playoff, I have Alabama beating Boise State. I think Alabama's a top 4 team in the country. I think they'll have no problem winning that game at home over Boise State. How about this one? The Carson Beck game right there. Georgia over Miami.
You're a menace.
Yeah.
You're an absolute menace for that.
Listen, my playoff originally did not have this matchup. It was close enough though. I was like, you know what? I have to make this happen. I need Carson Beck against Georgia in Athens as well. So I have Georgia beating Carson Beck and Miami in what should be a awesome storyline for that game. Oregon against LSU. I have Oregon winning that game over the Tigers. I think Oregon's defense will be really good this year, and I think Dante Moore will have success against that LSU defense. And then finally, Ohio State, I have beating number 10, Texas Tech. I think the Tech D-line could present some problems for Ohio State's offensive line in that game, but I mean, Jeremiah Smith and those receivers, Julian Sain back there, and obviously, Ohio State's got a great secondary too that I think Barrett Morton should struggle against. So I think Ohio State will beat Texas Tech in the first round.
The one that I wanted to put together and I just couldn't fit it in. I really wanted to have actually Arizona State against Oregon. I wanted Kenny Dillingham. I really wanted Kenny Dillingham against Oregon, and I just kind of couldn't make it work. But that would have been a lot of fun too. No, there's some of these. You're a maniac for the Georgia Miami.
I had Georgia I think my 7 seed originally. I was like, I have to just flip it just to make this happen.
Just to enjoy
the Carson Beck game.
If we ever got that, I mean the amount
in Georgia too.
The amount of just
the vitriol,
silly level vitriol. Yeah, it would just be ridiculous.
Oh, I love it. All right, let's dive into our quarterfinal predictions now. What are you thinking for the final 8?
All right, this is fun. I've got a couple of revenge games here. Let's start with the 4-5 matchup, which in my bracket ends up being Texas and Ohio State.
Ooh,
Texas gets
rematch,
the revenge. Yeah. We get a rematch from week 1. Texas gets the revenge from last year's semifinal loss. I'm taking Texas over Ohio State. I've got Clemson over Texas A&M. Good game. I just think Clemson's a better football team. Penn State revenge game over Notre Dame.
Hell yeah.
I know you love this. Is a wide receiver going to catch a pass this time?
I hope so. God.
Oh, they better hope so. Well, that's the type of demon that Penn State's going to have to get over with this new wide receivers and figuring out the passing game against a team that can cover like Notre Dame. It'll be obviously a tight football game, probably as tight as the one last year. But you don't have Riley Leonard this time. For now, it's going to be C.J. Carr instead. Penn State's got some demons to exercise, but I'll take them. And then Alabama over Utah. And the only thing I'll say about that is that's a quietly dangerous game if Devin Dampier is everything we thought he could be. Because if there's one weakness right now for Alabama, it's stopping running quarterbacks. And I think Dampier in that offensive line could be a lot of fun. But Alabama overall is a better team. My final 4 are Clemson, Bama, Penn State, and Texas, my top 4 seeds.
We have the same top 4. Not the top 4 seeds. We have the same exact top 4. My quarterfinal predictions here, I have Clemson beating Georgia. Also a revenge game because of week 1 last year when Georgia trounced Clemson.
Good call.
So Clemson, I think, will get revenge there over Georgia. I think Penn State will get revenge on Ohio State. I think they will beat them in the regular season, beat them in the Big Ten title game, and for a third time in a season. beat Ohio State. I'm taking it.
3-0 against the same teams. Has that ever been done in college?
Now that I say as a lifelong Penn State fan, they'll probably lose to Ohio State in Columbus, beat them in the Big Ten title game, and then I think they'll beat them in the.
Well, 3-0 would be 3-0 would be quite. If they go 3-0,
that would be incredible
against Ohio State after an 8-game losing streak. Now is that right?
2016 was the last time they beat Ohio State.
Well, you got some guts on you.
That's exercising demons right there for Penn State. James Franklin is just exercising demons if he beats Ohio State 3 times in a year.
Oh man!
If I have Penn State beating Ohio State, I have Texas beating Oregon. I think that should be a really, really fun game, but I think Texas just all around is the better team than Oregon in that one. And then my only quote-unquote upset is I have number 5 Alabama beating number 4 Notre Dame. Again, I think Alabama's a better team than Notre Dame all around right now, even though Notre Dame's got a really, really good roster this year. I like Ty Simpson a lot. I like him a little bit more than C.J. Carr going into this year too. I think Alabama will make the semifinals over the Fighting Irish this year. So my Final Four is the same exact as you: Clemson, Penn State, Texas, Alabama.
It feels like right now those are the 4.
Yeah,
right.
Agreed.
And I know we're higher on Alabama than some other outlets, but I really like their roster. And
Agreed.
If Ty Simpson and Ryan Grubb can really put together that passing game,
I think it's the best defense in the country, best O-line in the country. Ryan Williams is one of the best receivers in the country, so great receiving core even outside of him. And then you always have great running backs at Alabama. And then Ty Simpson, I think, will have a successful year.
And this is going to be the question when you talk about
Ryan Grubb back, too.
The quarterback dynamics of what's going on here. Because even with these 4 teams, you've got Cade Klubnik, 2-year starter. Drew Aller, 2-year starter. But Ty Simpson has never – I don't believe he has any starts in his career. He's played very little.
No,
and Arch Manning with just 2 career starts. This is the dynamic you're talking about with a lot of teams in this field. Who's got the experienced quarterbacks like Aller and Klubnik, and you mentioned Garrett Nussmeier earlier, and who's got the kids? Who's got the young quarterbacks, right? Texas, Alabama, Notre Dame is another one. Georgia's another one. Gunnar Stockton's got 1 career start. So, I mean, you're really looking at how is that going to play a factor in all of this? Is the inexperience or the experience of your quarterback? How does that work in these big games? But I think the 2 guys, Manning especially, I'm not really worried about under that type of pressure. He's a Manning. Ty Simpson's the more interesting one because if it clicks, I think it really could click.
Mm-hmm.
But some will think we're going out on a limb here, but that's a loaded team.
It's not like he's young though either. Like he's experienced.
This is his 4th year in college.
4th year, and he's a former 5-star recruit. So he's waited his turn. It's not like you're throwing like a C.J. Carr, who's a redshirt freshman, Julian Sain, redshirt freshman. Like they're young kids going out there. Bryce Underwood, true freshman. They're not young kids going out there. I mean, it's Ty Simpson. He's a 4th-year player in that Alabama program right now. All right, so we have the same exact top Final Four in the college football playoff. Will we have the same exact national title game? Who is making it to the national title game for you?
All right, first up, I have another revenge game here. We've got Clemson and Texas. And Clemson, I thought, especially as the game started rolling, they got in a really good rhythm. And Cade Klubnik got in a good rhythm. They just couldn't stop the run. It
was the best first-round game that we had last year.
It was. And this year, I'm a believer in Clemson. I'm going to take the Clemson Tigers over Texas this time. They are in the national title game. So far, I have Clemson at 15-0. Mm-hmm. And even Dabo Swinney has mentioned, he goes, I think this team is capable of 16-0. I think they are, but right now I have them 15-0, beating Texas in the semi, my other semifinal, and I hate to do it to you, but I'm taking Alabama over Penn State. I just think Penn State, just something about them. I just can't pick them to go all the way. Maybe it's just because I have to deal with you all season. The wide receiver. Now, I will say this. Being that my previous matchup was them against Notre Dame. If they get over that hurdle and they can get by a team that can cover like Notre Dame can, then maybe they exercise the demons and the wide receivers and all that and they can take it all the way. I just like Alabama a little bit better. So I've got Clemson and Alabama as my title game.
All right. I also have Clemson in my title game. I have Clemson beating Alabama, though, in the semifinals. So we will have a different national title game guaranteed because of that. But I do think Clemson, top to bottom, is just a really good roster. And, Alabama's got a slight question mark at quarterback with Ty Simpson. Clemson has the best quarterback in the country, in my opinion, in Cade Klubnik. So I have Clemson beating Alabama. And unfortunately for me and my family, I also have Penn State losing in the semifinals to Texas. I have Texas and Clemson meeting in the national title game. I think that Texas will beat Penn State. That's a really tough one because I think those are the top 4 in our opinion, but also I think it's a pretty clear top 3-ish of Clemson, Penn State, and Texas. And I think Texas will beat Penn State in that game, and it'll be set up a Clemson versus Texas national title game. Well, you have a Clemson versus Alabama national title game.
Yeah, I mean, and this is a tough one, and a matchup that we've gotten in years past, and some have been absolute classics, right? And you've got a team that has maybe the most returning talent, actually maybe the two teams with the most returning talent in college football this year, and Clemson obviously has Klubnik, Alabama with the young quarterback in Ty Simpson. Between the two of them, look, here's the thing for me. If Alabama gets this far with Ty Simpson and the offense looks this good under Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, I think they can win one more game. I'm taking Alabama over Clemson. I know everybody's down on them after last year. 9-4 didn't quite go the way you wanted it to, but this is still Alabama. I really like Ty Simpson's fit in this offense. Absolutely love Ryan Williams. Love all the defensive talent returning. I love all the defensive talent returning on both of these squads. I think the difference is in this game would be who can run the football.
Yep.
Can Clemson, with maybe a true freshman starting at running back, run the football and find enough balance? Can Alabama do that? We know Jam Miller's got the injury that's keeping him out of at least the first week, but can Alabama, behind that big offensive line, find a run game and balance things out a little bit? I'm going to take the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think people are selling too high right now on Kalen DeBoer. I like that Ryan Grubb is back. He's a fantastic football coach. He's won at every level. He's gotten to this stage once already at Washington. This time he finishes the job.
All right. So Alabama winning a national title after missing the playoff last year under Kalen DeBoer. They not only make the playoff this year, they win it all this year, you think? All right.
We're going with it.
I love it.
SEC champs. National champs, the whole bit. Kalen DeBoer is back. Get back on the boat. Crimson Tide.
So, my pick, and again, reminder, in my career at PFF, I'm 2 for 2 in my preseason national title picks, picking Michigan 2 years ago and Ohio State last year. And Dalton, my strategy in both of those years was simple. Just simply put, who was the best roster in college football, top to bottom. This year, I believe that's Clemson. I have Clemson taking down Texas in my national title game. I think Clemson has the best offense in the country with the best quarterback in the country, both of our Heisman picks, and Cade Klubnik leading it. They have an elite receiving core with their top 3 receivers back as well. They have a really good offensive line. Got to figure out the run game a little bit, obviously. But then the defense is loaded too. The third best defense in college football, in my opinion, with the best defensive line in the country. A loaded linebacker unit. A really good secondary behind it too. Clemson's got incredible depth everywhere, and it also has superstars on their roster. Clemson had 3 of our top 10 players in the country heading into this year in Peter Woods, the D-tackle, T.J. Parker, the edge rusher, and Cade Klubnik, the quarterback, in addition to some other stars too, like Avion Terrell on that defense too, and Antonio Williams and Bryant Wesco Jr., and all the great receivers they have too. So Texas and Penn State were very tempting for me to pick this year. I mean, I'm calling out my childhood love, Penn State to win a national title. Would have been really fun to do that. Texas with Arch Manning and that defense coming back too. But they both have some question marks. I look at Clemson right now. I don't see a true question mark right now. So not only are they good everywhere, they're great at a lot of places too. I have Clemson as my predicted national champion in 2025, trying to go 3 for 3 after picking Michigan and Ohio State.
Figured that was coming when you made them number 1 in your preseason.
I guess I spoiled it.
You swept the awards. Also, you had Dabo Coach of the Year, Klubnik, Heisman, O'Brien, Peter Woods with one of the awards on defense too. I mean, I get it. They're loaded. I almost did it. I bet that last game I pretty much flipped the coin on it. I'll be honest with you, because I think you could argue those are the two teams, Clemson and Alabama, with the most returning talent in the country. Alabama obviously has the quarterback question. Obviously, Texas and Penn State are extremely talented. Mm-hmm. But Penn State, I need to see the wide receivers. And look, Texas, if you're calling out Arch Manning to win a national title year 1, I mean, I'm in on Arch Manning, but well, that's a lot. That's a lot of expectation.
With a brand new O-line too.
That's pretty heavy here. But no, I think this is definitely those last 4 on both of ours there. I really feel like going into it, those are the 4 teams that I probably have the least number of questions on heading into this. Now, there's some huge games. I mean, you talk about Penn State, obviously, you mentioned the Ohio State game. They have a little easier road because they're out of conference is basically nothing, right? So, I mean, they've got Oregon at home. They've got Indiana at home. They have to go to Ohio State. Texas, obviously, is going to have a string of big games in the SEC, as is Alabama. Clemson, I really believe Clemson and Notre Dame probably have the 2 best chances to me to finish the regular season undefeated.
Agreed.
And that's where I'm at again with Clemson being number 1 there, where I'm just like, I only see 3 or 4 games on the schedule where they could lose, honestly. And I think they should be favored in every single one of them. So there's some tricky ones. I mean, obviously, LSU week 1. South Carolina is always fun later in the year. The Louisville game on a Friday night at Louisville is tricky after what Louisville did to them last year physically on the ground. But I'm with you. I get it. Clemson really should have these types of expectations, as should all 4 of those top 4 teams.
How about this? All 3 of the teams that we think will make the national title game have games in week 1 that we'll be previewing. Because Clemson plays LSU, Bama plays Florida State. We're previewing that game too, and then Texas plays Ohio State too.
I mean, huge games.
So
huge.
We'll know
games.
pretty quickly who the top teams are in college football.
Curious also, because I wanted to have this discussion. What were like 3, 4, 5 teams that you just had left out for maybe the last couples? Unless you want me to go first.
Yeah, please do.
Let
me look it up real quick.
So one of them for me, I was looking in the Big Ten that if it wasn't going to be Oregon, who would it be? And I think the 2 that I settle in on, one are Indiana. Indiana is not out of this at all.
No.
And I think the thing is, I almost wanted to slot Indiana in at 11. The problem is with the way their schedule is. I don't think Indiana can make the playoff unless they go to Oregon or Penn State and win. Those are like the 2 huge games on.
Yeah, 10-2 Indiana, I don't know if it gets in.
I don't think so because they have nothing out of conference. And if I'm going to put Oregon in, I really can't put Indiana in because I think at that point Oregon would beat Indiana. The other one from the Big Ten for me, and it's been a hot pick for some people lately I've seen, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Nebraska, if they beat Cincinnati week 1, we're previewing that game also, and they beat Michigan at home in week 4, they've got a road all of a sudden because they've got a Eli's all in on Dylan Raiola for his Heisman dark horse. If they start 4-0, there's a real chance Nebraska could start 10-0, and we've got the same situation we had with Indiana last year. Another one was my ACC runner-up, Duke. I think, to me, this is a team with a quiet road to get there. If they can beat Illinois in week 2, big game at home against Illinois in week 2. If they can win that game, their ACC schedule outside of the Clemson game is very favorable. But the only issue is if I have them losing to Clemson the first time, making the ACC title game anyway, and then losing to Clemson again, let's say. All right, so those are the 2 losses. My problem is if I'm taking them up to lose to Clemson twice, I think they'd have to go 11-0 otherwise.
Yeah.
Tough to predict that. And I like Duke. 11-0 was a tough task. And then was there another one I was thinking of? And then the SEC, I wasn't going to add a 5th team. I'm not going to go with 5, but the SEC to me was tough to pick. The last 2 I was considering were really A&M and LSU. I think those are the next 2 in line. But I mean, the other one, I know some people like Auburn as a sleeper. I know you've been in on Auburn this offseason. I looked into Missouri, but I'm worried about the quarterback battle going on there. South Carolina, I think. I'm not sure yet on them. So A&M over LSU was probably – it's another – I thought about LSU, but I like what Texas A&M has going. And when they play head-to-head, just a massive football game. That really could be a game that decides a playoff spot.
So I was looking at it right now. I think Florida – I know their schedule is brutal, but I actually think there's a world where if they go 9-3 with that schedule, the playoff committee might look very favorably on that. Like they could be last year's South Carolina, Alabama. They almost got in at 9-3. Florida, if they get in, if they have a 9-3 record, and I think they're a top 10 team in the country, Florida could actually have a better chance than those 2 did last year.
You mentioned Miami as one of your playoff teams. That's a huge out-of-conference game also. Florida against – I would assume then if you have Miami in the playoff, they're beating Florida or no? I mean, I know we didn't do the entire simulate every game, but I think it's actually – you look at some of the games with playoff implications. I mentioned Duke, Illinois, like Florida, Miami – for at-large, if we're giving Clemson the ACC title, for Florida, Miami for at-large consideration, that could be the difference in those 2 teams' season also.
Florida, Indiana was a tough, you mentioned them already. Texas A&M, who you had in your playoff, is another one that I was thinking about too. Illinois, if they, again, have another 10 or 11 win season, which is possible for them, they have a tough schedule, but I think Illinois is possible. South Carolina is a very boomer bust team. Some of our colleagues here, PFF like Mitch Kaiser, love South Carolina, actually have them in his playoff. But I think they're a boomer bust team. So if that boom hits, absolutely can make the playoff. You had Arizona State in there too. So maybe Louisville. Louisville could be a fun one too. If Louisville makes the ACC title game over Miami, they could be a fun one too.
Anybody that's in, depending on how things go, I like Louisville, I like Duke, Miami also. Whoever is in second place in the ACC, that's the team that's going to have a shot. The other one, and I was just about to look up a schedule because you made me think of it in the Big Ten. Isn't Iowa's schedule like reasonably they could find enough? Like, there's still some work obviously to be done in their offense, but you've got at Iowa State, they play Indiana, Penn State, Oregon. Like, if Iowa found their way to 10-2, that's another team I think we could be they gotta hope Mark Gronowski is that guy at quarterback. But if they snuck their way to 10-2 with enough solid wins, like I figure, okay, against Iowa State, Indiana, Penn State, Oregon, they go 2-2 in those games and they end up 10-2. That's another team. I think Iowa and Nebraska are two weird Big Ten teams with a case based on what they could do in the conference.
Yeah, go back to Illinois real quick. They played Duke in week 2 as a huge out-of-conference game.
Big game.
Indiana in September too, and also USC in September. So we could know whether or not Illinois is a legit playoff contender by October.
Yeah.
We will know that because they play Ohio State in October. But, I think Illinois is definitely a team to look out for. And I love the Nebraska call. I've seen some other people have Nebraska in their playoff. Didn't quite have the guts to do that for me. But I think Nebraska with that schedule and the potential improvement we could see from Dylan Raiola and that receiving core with all the new guys they brought into that receiving core, I see a world where Nebraska does do it next year. So I'm not going to call it out as one of my predictions, but they're absolutely a sleeper for next year.
The schedule favors them. Now, in theory, something I said on the NFL this morning, on the NFL show this morning, was, look, you're having a weak schedule only matters if you're actually that good, if you're good, right? So it's just one of those things with Nebraska. Look, the Cincinnati game at Arrowhead first week, not the easiest game ever to have week 1, especially playing on a Thursday night with all the pressure. But I'm looking at that week 4 game against Michigan. I think that's the biggest game Nebraska will have played in a long time, right? You're talking especially after last year with, what was it, a 7 or 8 year bowl game drought even coming now. Last year they finally made a bowl game with a true freshman quarterback. I think Nebraska-Michigan week 4 is prime time. That's going to be must-see TV.
So that wraps up our official college football playoff predictions. Dalton has Alabama winning the national title, and I have Clemson winning the national title. Just a reminder, Dalton got it wrong last year, and I got it right. So maybe trust me over Dalton for that one.
I'm better throughout the process of picking games in season. I'm 2 for 2 of winning the in-season game picking battle, and then you just get the one at the end.
I get the one important one right every year. That's what I do every year. But can't wait for this year. It should be a wild season this year. I want to thank all of our sponsors on this show. If you're interested in supporting our shows, please reach out to sales@pff.com. Dalton, our next live show will be our week 1 preview, baby. We're finally here.
11 games.
Got producer Eli shouting woo.
Absolutely. That's the best part. That's how I know the PFF college football show is all the way back. I mean, should we tell the people
Go ahead, tell
the
them,
11 games that we have, if I can remember off the top of my head?
I have it pulled up. You can't. So.
Oh, well, no, I got it. Here, we'll do it. I've written enough about it. First of all, Thursday night, Arrowhead Stadium, Nebraska, Cincinnati.
Love that.
Really fun game to start out, especially Dylan Raiola playing at Arrowhead, right? Friday night, we get it spread across 5 days, which is just fantastic. Yeah. Friday night, Colorado, Georgia Tech at Folsom Field.
Yep.
Auburn traveling to Baylor.
Yep.
That's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Saturday, you get to Texas, Ohio State.
That's the biggest game of the year right now.
Maybe the biggest game of the year in week 1.
1 versus 3, yeah.
Texas, Ohio State. Your Syracuse Orange traveling down to Atlanta to play Tennessee on a neutral field, right? Alabama, Florida State at 3:30. LSU going to Clemson, the battle of Death Valleys. Late night Saturday night, we'll be up till 2 a.m. watching UCLA and Utah.
Nico's first game against Utah.
Nico's first game against a really good Utah team. Sunday, we get 2 great games, South Carolina and Virginia Tech.
Yep.
Notre Dame traveling down to Miami. What a huge game. And then, of course, it ends on Monday Night Football, fittingly enough. Bill Belichick's first game at North Carolina, hosting TCU. We've got 11 games to preview for you. It's going to be a long show on Tuesday, but it's going to be the most fun one we've done so far.
Oh, I can't wait. This is one of the best. We have the best week 0 game in a quarter of a century, and this is probably the best week 1 I can remember. We have 3 games between top 10 teams in week 1. That is outrageous. And Dalton and I are previewing all 11 games between Power 4 teams. There are 11 games where a Power 4 team is playing a Power 4 team. We're previewing all 11 games as well. Cannot wait for that Tuesday live show. It's not going to be a night show anymore. We're actually going Tuesday during the afternoon, I believe, at 1 p.m.
I think 1 o'clock is what we agreed
1 o'clock.
on. Tuesday at 1 o'clock.
In fact, probably the next video on this channel, though, will probably be a grade release show or a game breakdown of the Kansas State-Iowa State game, which is now less than 48 hours away right now in Ireland between two top 25 teams in week 0. We are finally here. This was the final preseason show here of the PFF College Football Show. We are now into the 2025 college football season. I appreciate all you guys for watching this whole offseason. Now we're diving into what should be a wild 2025 season. For producer Eli back there, for Dalton Wasserman, I'm Max Chadwick. We'll see you guys on Monday for our grade release show for Iowa State, Kansas State, and then on Tuesday, our full preview of the top 11 games of week 1.